nearly 3 months ago to the day, we got Sean Dyche in sitting 19th on the table, 20 games in with only 15 points. 3 months later, we are safe, and it's been 3 months of slow accumulation of pain, anxiety. You know, we are preparing for the worst, and finally we've got that burden, that extreme weight removed off our shoulders from all that accumulation, with so many performances that have been really heart in your mouth kind of stuff. And today was no different. It is a 1-0 win that sees us safe and fending off the likes of Leicester and Leeds right down to the final minutes. And boy, oh boy, was it a very tense final few minutes. This was a performance where, I mean, Sean Dyche, first got to give him credit for the job he has done. We haven't played too many sides that have been in the bottom half. And the few times that we did, you know, we got a few good results. And there were situations where we went into games as underdogs and came away with all 3 points. And with another manager, that's probably not the case. He has preached about this mentality thing through and through the entire time he's been here. I mean, if I got a dime every time he said mentality and oppressor, we'd be rich. We'd be filthy rich. But mentality ultimately was the thing that got us over the line today. You know, constantly preaching that thing and trying to get that message sent to your players has paid dividends. Because a game like today, we really could have faltered under pressure and been overwhelmed by the big moment. We scored the goal in the 57th minute. It was an absolute belter by Doucoure. He's constantly said that he wants to keep this team away from being relegated, and well, he did exactly that today. But it was the 43 minutes with all that added time that followed, where I think they were probably the most courageous 43 minutes we've played all season. Credit to the boys, because they absolutely ran their hearts out. I mean, you got fans celebrating left, right, and center, young and old. You've got obviously players on the pitch playing and not playing, players that are injured and out. Obviously, we went into this game without a recognized striker, no fullbacks. We had players filling positions that they aren't really accustomed to playing, and they stood up incredibly well. Demarai Gray playing up front. Apparently, when he came off, he was sweltering, like sweating profusely. His jersey was drenched. You've got players playing, you know, well after the whistle. There was a Connor Cody sliding tackle challenge to deflect the ball out of play for a corner, well after the whistle had been blown for an offside. Or, I mean, obviously the players don't know that at that given time, but he was playing well after the whistle. You've got players like Onana putting in a challenge, you know, in the 95th, 96th minute to, you know, deflect that pressure away from the back line, especially when we were playing a very deep line. Look, we've been saved from a pit of despair, and we were facing it, you know, as recently as throughout the game, because when Leicester scored the goal, we could have really dropped our heads. I think credit to Sean Dyche, because he wanted to keep his team very focused on the task ahead and worried about what we could control and what we could do. You know, not worrying about that result. If we knew about that result and that was playing at the back of our minds more often than not, that could have really affected the way we played. It could have made us a bit more fumbly, a little bit more hesitant. Obviously trying to, you know, protect your own goal, whilst also simultaneously trying to score one to get the lead. So it was imperative that the mentality side of things was thereabouts, and it absolutely was. We talk about player of the matches, and honestly, I mean, you could give a medal to every single one of those players out there based on effort, but I'm going to give 2 player of the matches. The first one is Idrissa Gana Gueye, because from minute 1, he was absolutely on it, playing passes, winning the ball back for our team. I mean, he was incredible intercepting the ball. He did well to protect it at times. He was obviously, you know, a bit more of an attacking threat in this game, with one shot that skied well over the bar, and then there was another one which was deflected over the bar. So he was pretty instrumental in that first half to really set the tone, especially when the intensity seemed to be a little bit down. But overall, he did a really, really good job today. He sometimes has put us in a little bit of a vulnerable spot with some of the things he does, like holding onto the ball for too long and then losing it. And then just getting really caught out because he's got a bit of a lack of pace. But today he did absolutely everything required of him. The other player is James Garner. I'm quickly becoming a fan of this guy because he just, he has stepped up in a big way in the last couple of weeks playing right wing back. He didn't really give the wingers that he was on a chance to really progress forward. He always was cutting out those passes that they were sending towards those wingers. That's obviously Bournemouth I'm talking about. But also him on the ball, he just looks so composed. We say this every single week, but I feel like that is something we desperately needed at the back end, a really assured head. So he was obviously living up to that title as well because playing the right pass, I think Yerry Mina playing on the same side as James Garner as the right centre-back in a back three was a really good thing because Yerry Mina was winning a lot of aerial headers. So when the ball hit the turf, James Garner was there. He was ready to, feed a pass forward or feed a player with a pass forward and we could go on the attack again. I think he was a really underrated contributor. And it's very easy to get lost in the very big performers because of the goals they've scored, the saves they've made. But James Garner was there for exactly what we needed him to do. And, we've had some games where there's been passengers, but today, James Garner really embodied a kind of player that, was seen all over the pitch, 1 through 11. We talk about the backline trio. I mean, Yerry Mina, that was his last game. Connor Cody, his situation is up in the air because obviously a loan deal, he could be back at Wolves. I think we need to sign him, especially with Mina going. Connor Cody, he was exceptional today. Tarkovsky cutting out those crosses into the box that seemed really, really scary when they were happening, especially at the back end. And Yerry Mina, as I just said, he was very, very good in the air. Didn't really give Bournemouth a chance of getting on the end of those headers that they were sending in at a pretty rapid rate at the back end of the game. I do think that Dwight McNeil playing with Alex Iwobi on the left-hand side was also a good move. There was a fair bit of cohesion with those two, working really well, interchanging who plays outside and who makes that inverted run on the inside. It sort of provides a little bit of a change in dynamic, which obviously you need to change things up and keep the defense guessing. And I think we did a pretty good job of that. Not enough presence in the box, but that was to be expected. We needed to play our way forward and we found that difficult at times. But as we've said, like all season long, what we lose in quality can be made up for in effort and how you play. And, I've said this numerous times. I'm banging on about it. We were not short on effort today. Every player can hold their heads up high knowing that they contributed to a win, whether that was the defensive efforts, whether that was the attacking prowess they showed going forward to provide that relief for the defense. Everyone had a role to play. And look, I love what Sean Dyche has said. A lot of people have really been supportive of what he said in the post game. He said, this is Everton Football Club. We should not be celebrating this. We shouldn't be standing for this. This is merely a step in the process. Obviously, in the short term, Dyche has completed what he wanted to achieve, but going forward, this cannot be the norm. This needs to be a starting point, a springboard, a platform for where we can build off of. We need a serious level of investment in the summer to get players in that we need. We can't rely on DCL. We can't be having a fullback shortage in the last game of the season where we desperately need those kinds of players to stick with the system we've been comfy with. This team that we put out today is probably a never before seen team under Sean Dyche, and we had to do it because of necessity. So improvements need to be made there. And look, I thought getting relegated would be the wake-up call, but obviously we've been given a reprieve, so we need to use this opportunity. We've been given a second life, a big lifeline by the football gods. So, we've got to take this opportunity and not take it for granted. We talked about the biggest games of the season happening in the back end of the season, obviously with the importance, with all that was at stake. But these couple of months ahead to reformulate our team and find balance, it's going to be the biggest couple of months in recent history for this club, because how we shape our team in the off season and what we do is going to be very season defining before the season even begins. So we need to be very smart about things and very resourceful. Sean Dyche has done a good job of retooling, finding ways to, remold players' abilities into positions they've never played before. So obviously that is a plus, but it's going to be about whether or not we can actually get some players that can play natural positions, and we can be a little bit more comfortable in what we can achieve, a bit more flexibility in what we can do. Now, thanks lots for the support across the season. We've done 38 game weeks of match reactions / talking points. So thank you if you've been here every step of the way. I do plan, like I did last season, to make a short little documentary on what's been happening in the back end of the season, because I feel like that's just a part of the fan journey, documenting where we've come from. When we sit in a good position, these little things where we mark history is really nice to look back on. So I hope to be doing that, and I hope to see you there for that. But for the last time, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you God knows when, but thank fuck for that.